able to share great ideas and to a little move. The idea of this first Inspire Hackathon started in the spring when I spoke with Hugo Regno from the Commission, and then we built a team which is composed, could be from two groups. One is around the project from Citizens Observatory, the second is from the project more related to ICT Luxembourg, open geospatial data. So two groups of project work together almost half year to prepare this event. We had also communication and discussion with Commission, DG Research, DG Environment and DG GRC. And finally, we are here. One organization thinks do the transmission. I would like to ask anybody who will speak, please, here are papers, and we will need to have your agreement that this could be put on the internet, because without this it will be not allowed. So please, here are papers, there is also pen. Everybody who will present, after your presentation, go there and make your signature. It is a request. So I think that we don't need too much at the beginning. We will be divided into three parts today. First is more introduce each other, who we are, what we are doing. Please, every project, everybody speak something like 3 minutes, be fast. Second part, which will start after lunch, will be focused on put team together, yes, to start build the teams, and then we'll start work, and we plan to continue also to work tomorrow. So I think that it is from my side on the beginning all, and now I would like to ask Rubio to tell us few words.
Sorry, I left the presentation before, but apparently has disappeared. Okay. Well, I would like to first introduce myself. I'm José Miguel Rubio. I work at the European Commission on detachment, actually, from the National Geographic Institute here in Spain. So I'm very glad to have been invited to say a few words before starting this workshop. Actually, I had prepared a bit of a long presentation, so I will try to be short and concise. Sorry. Okay, so as I was saying, I had prepared a 10 minutes presentation. I will try to be even shorter because, well, the idea was on one side to give a sort of a background about the benefits of citizen science, crowdsourced and volunteered geographic information, aspects of data quality and data management which are clearly very relevant for a conference like Inspire. And then, as I am actually the project officer of some of the citizen observatories which are behind the organization of this workshop, I wanted also to give my take on the activities of this project. So, well, in my presentation, I will be speaking about citizen science, but citizen science, crowdsourcing, VGI, I mean, actually, they cover a very, very wide range of activities. We will be speaking about citizens collecting data, but trying also or participating in analyzing and interpreting data, but they also can participate in providing information in a passive way, like passive sensing, also with volunteer computing. We cover a very wide range of activities, and also a wide range of themes, not only environmental, but also we can see citizens participating in discoveries of new astronomical objects, or even helping mapping human brain. So there is a big wide range of activities and themes in which we can frame these kind of activities, but it's actually in environmental issues where citizen science has obviously, because of a long tradition, a more prominent role, and actually as it has been recognized as such in a series of environmental related policies, papers, and documents. I won't start in detail, I won't enter into any detail about this because we don't have time, but of course it all starts with Orwell's Convention, the Directive of Public Access and Participation of Citizens in Environmental Decision Making, which, however, they don't give any provision about how citizens can have a role of providing actual information. But still, there are a number of papers which really cover this, in the last decade, which really start to recognize actually this role. For example, the 7th Environment Action Program, the SAIS staff working document about the implementation, and other kind of national papers and national government papers and memoranda. Actually, if we go to the literature, we will see as well that there are a number and a growing number of established cases of involvement of citizens in citizen science crowdsourcing projects and government in fields like biodiversity, land monitoring, or disaster response. And this is because it's being recognized the role that crowdsourcing can have in meeting and helping public authorities and governments in meeting data collection targets, both in trying to support environmental regulations compliance, also in informing environmental policy making. This is especially relevant when we are trying to monitor large areas, and also when we try to, when we require frequent sampling. Public authorities do not often have the capacity to go to everywhere at any time to get the information that they need for their public tasks, and then citizen science crowdsourcing can be a good complement to these authoritative data sources. And also it's cost effective, and some reports actually confirm this from UK, US, and France, especially when we relate to large-scale projects. But citizen science and crowdsourcing can contribute and have a side effect in terms of raising awareness for among the population about environmental issues, also driving a more participatory form of democracy, or even, of course, citizen science in the end is also science, and it can contribute to advanced scientific research, and as such has been also recognized in the European Open Science agenda. One of the elements that I think create more concern for public authorities and governments to uptake the information coming from citizens is, as you will know, as you perfectly know, the concept of equality, data quality of this information. A range of studies which have assessed the consistency, the quality of the completeness of this information have already concluded that actually this information can be very valid for many tasks. But we also have to take into account the specificities of this kind of data that citizens collect, especially the heterogeneity of these data sources in space and in time, which can change dramatically. And public authorities have to take this into account when using this information. Citizen science and crowdsourcing data, as other authoritative data, they have to follow quality assurance procedures, and they have also to be documented. This is necessary in order to ensure that this information is fit for purpose. normally in citizen science projects and crowdsourcing, these quality assurance procedures are based on a large number of contributors, but there are other ways to ensure the quality of this information. Another source of concern is, of course, the creation of metadata. Normally, it can be a bit of a tedious work, and it can be challenging to convince those who are participating in those projects to, apart from collecting data, also to collecting and to create the metadata, but this is actually very necessary in order to ensure that this information can be reused. I wanted to mention here a recent survey that our colleagues from the Joint Research Center made last year on data management in citizen science and crowdsourcing project, taking into account or considering that actually, apart from data quality or together with data quality, the whole aspect of data management could be or is actually a barrier for reuse this information, reusing and integrating this information with other kind of data. I think it's interesting to have a look at the results, which actually the survey actually had more than 100 responses from projects from a wide variety of themes, especially environmental themes. And it's interesting to take into to see that actually more than half of the project that participated in the survey, they have a data management plan, that they actually provide access to raw and aggregated data, but as due also to the consideration of the lack of metadata, use conditions are not always put into place, and also well-defined licenses are very often missing. So there is a whole work of capacity building and training in order to promote the need for standardization and interoperability in these sources. Linking or trying to link this with the major theme of this conference, which is Inspire, and also related environmental initiatives, like in the case of the Shared Environmental Information System. In the staff working document that was published in 2013, actually about the implementation and outlook of the size, crowdsourcing was recognized actually as enhancing the level of participation in assessing the success of the EU environmental policies, because citizens are well placed to monitor what is happening in the environment at any time and anywhere, at least where there are citizens. Inspire, however, doesn't provide any reference to citizen science or crowdsourcing. So it is my take. In the end, discussions and further guidance will be necessary in the future in order to bridge the gap between these bottom-up activities and also what is happening at national and EU level in the context of Inspire and the national SDIs. No? How can these activities can actually contribute to the implementation of Inspire at national level? This is something that we have to ask ourselves and see where we best can contribute. No? Well, I won't go into detail because I think I'm running out of time, but with respect to the use and integration of this kind of data in government data flows, I would recommend you to have a look at this work of crowdsourcing geographic information use in government by the World Bank, which provides a series of advices and a series of issues that should be addressed in order to ensure that VGI can be successfully integrated in these governmental data flows. Especially one thing that I need to emphasize is that this data, or at least that has to be communicated to those working at the public administration, is that this data won't substitute the authoritative data, but will complement and won't challenge the traditional official processes in order to obtain the national reference data. No? Other aspects have to also to be taken into account. I put it there as a reference. So the second part, that I will be also very quick, is about a special flavor of citizen science and crowdsourcing initiative, which are citizen observatories. I could not find, even if I use sometimes one or other definition. I could not find a completely agreed definition of what a citizen observatory is. But I could find from definitions from several of the projects that there are evidently concepts which are common, like sharing information, participatory approaches, participation in local environmental decision-making. All this provides, creates a framework in which citizens, authorities, and also scientists can participate and contribute in order to provide necessary knowledge to participate in environmental decision-making. No? Why we are supporting these activities is basically because we consider this has a great potential to fill in gaps in in situ observation and trigger innovation. There are a number of projects that we fund under the FP7 Research and Innovation Programs of the European Union. Citizens, We Sense It, Cobweb, we will see them after my talk. Most of them are coming, well, they are coming actually to an end in a few weeks, on a few days. I'm very happy to see the results that we will see after my talk. But there are new ones that have been financed through H2020, Horizon 2020, which are more focused on land use and land cover management, on how citizens can contribute to this. We will have actually a first cluster workshop in Brussels with them, and also we welcome warmly the previous projects as well to join us in Brussels in November. And it's not the end, because we recognize that there is a need to foster collaboration, like, for example, we see here, between projects, citizen observatories, and related activities. That's why we included a topic in the Horizon 2020 work program for next year on coordination of activities in order to foster best practices and promoting standards, and also to promote the uptake of this kind of activities by public authorities. Be aware that the topic will be open, the call will be open next in November, I think, and will be closed in March. I would like, just before ending, make a small reference, short reference to the Group on Earth observations, because our support to these activities is framed within the overall context of building the Global Earth Observation System of Systems, which is, I could say, sort of inspired, globally inspired, even if we don't have a legal enforcement behind. And we cannot be so ambitious as here. But in GEO, the citizen observatories have been recognized in the strategic plan as another source for information, and as such is also included in the work program. I think there is a big potential to include these activities as a proper, fully fledged activities in the next work program of GEO, in order to interface with the global actors, what you are doing here in Europe. I won't enter into detail, but also, just for your information, and as a sign that there is a recognition at the European Commission level of the importance of this information, we are working with different DGs and the European Environment Agency on a pilot on citizen science, in order to see how actually we can bring this information, how this can be used for policy making, and also how we should change or modify our ways of working in order to bring in this knowledge. So I would like to conclude again to emphasizing, at least is my personal opinion, the need for more cross-cutting activities like this one, in order to ensure that we facilitate interoperability, that we integrate this kind of information with official information. I was very glad to attend the European Citizen Science Association conference in May, when we actually saw that there is an increased maturity in the community. There is a great spirit of openness, and also to create tools that can be reused. So that's a great thing. But there are more efforts that have to be made in terms of documenting, as I have said before. also very important long-term preservation of this wealth of data, what's happening after the project ends, what's happening after data is collected. We have to make sure that this data is not missed, that is not lost. And also discover how we can discover. Do we need specific catalogs for this kind of information? Well, there are collaborative activities that I think they are going into the right direction, and I think some of them will be mentioned today. So, just will conclude that this increasing, this awareness about the potential of this information is increasing, and this is great news. There are nice stories at national level, but I think still we are missing EU-wide success stories in order to really demonstrate the power and the potential of these kind of activities. I think that's all what I wanted to say. Sorry for running out of time.
Thank you. And I would like to ask you to sit here.
Oh yeah, don't worry.
Okay, now we will move to the presentation of single projects. Bente will call you. Probably Bente, you will tell who is speaking and who will be next to be ready. Yes, at the beginning, I forgot one thing on the beginning. I would like to introduce the people who cooperate on the preparation. Yes, Bente, Arne, Thomas. Sven, unfortunately, is not here with us, so this was the team who worked on the preparation. And now I would like to ask, call the first presentation.
Sent. Yes, probably. Yeah. So before we start, I would like to remind you of what we hope to achieve by the end of this hackathon, and that is taking up what José said, transfer the knowledge and the experience from the first pioneering citizens observatories and volunteer geographical information projects to the next generation of citizens observatories. That is what we want to make a step further on achieving. And José also mentioned why it is important that actually policymakers and governments will actually be able to use this information if we do some more work on the data and information. So that's sort of what we are hoping to achieve, to make some further steps towards using what we already achieved in the first projects to the next projects. And I also want to mention that there is a prize. You know, a hackathon is always associated with a prize, if you heard about hackathons before. And the prize in this case is not anything material, it's a mere immaterial prize, and that is the possibility to be co-authoring articles, scientific articles, and other outreach material if you are actively participating in the working groups that we will create eventually. So that sort of is really a possibility to for some students particularly who need to have some publications. This is really an opportunity to do that. So I just wanted to mention that to motivate you a little bit to be actively participating in this transfer. And we will also, so we will start this process, you know, the kickstarting of the new citizens observatories is our goal. And by doing, you know, getting this started, we are preparing very short introductions to get the work started. And since it's the new observatories that are in focus here, those are the ones that we want to help. We want them to come up first and tell very shortly what they would like to have help with. And then when the four new observatories have told you or us this, we will invite those with experience, so the former projects or the about to finish projects, to tell us the main findings and knowledge that they want to, that think they will be useful for the future. So this will be a session then with 3 short 3 minutes presentations, like boom, 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 so that we get time to form groups afterwards. So I think we are ready for the first, or are we not?
Yeah, we're just trying to make sure that the remote participants see that screen and not the presenter screen.
Yes, okay.
So I'll try that once more. We should get actually a present request. The request, where do we have the meeting room? Set up. There's no remote presenters. And we'll see where we have the GoToMeeting set up on this machine now.
It's not there. Google Chrome is not there. There. Yep.
There we can, okay, so which screen, is it this one we should show? I guess this one, screen 2, should be fine there. And we share this.
We've got, yeah. So meanwhile, just we are talking, doing these technical things. The whole thing is also recorded, just for your information, so that here in the room, so that afterwards, if you want to go check what has been said when you get home, there will be ample possibilities to do that. We will post the video from this conference or the work sessions afterwards.
Okay, this will continue.
Yes.
We'll see what we
Yep.
can do. Okay.
It's fine? Okay. And you have to say your name.
Yes, and how do I? Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm Athanasia Tsertou. I come from ICCS Research Institute, which is located in Athens, Greece. We are coordinating SEND, which is one of the 4 new citizen observatory projects. This is our consortium. It has quite a good balance of industry, research, and NGOs, as well as public authorities. As I have only 3 minutes, which is quite challenging, let me. Okay. Sorry. For some reason, I can't go to. Okay, no worries. I will just explain a few things about the architecture in a glance. So SEND is all about how to, using ICT tools, how to motivate citizens in order to collect images from open platforms. This can happen through a way of innovative things like serious games. Okay, so that's better. So this is SEND at a glance. So in the middle of the image there, you can see SEND Intelligence Engine. What it does is that you can use it in order to annotate images automatically that are there sitting in Flickr, in Panoramio, in some other image repository without being exploited in order to help resolve some environmental issues such as, for instance, flood monitoring. There is abundant information out there which is not used for such purposes, and the objective of SEND is to annotate these images using this tool as well as some serious games in order to exploit this information and help augment already existing in situ observations as well as existing maps. You all know, for instance, maps that sometimes lack accuracy, which is needed for monitoring sensitive environmental aspects like flooding. In Cent, our motivation is to try and give this missing accuracy to existing maps using the citizens. Of course, this will be a process involving large-scale demonstrations. Our demonstrations happen in 2 countries, Greece and Romania. One of them is of urban nature, so it involves Kifissos River Basin, which is a river basin affecting the whole city of Athens with a lot of floods happening, especially in winter time. And the other large-scale demonstration happens in Danube Delta, which, if you may say, we are observing there the positive aspects of flooding, meaning how it can affect in a positive way the flora and the fauna of the region. So we have this complementary large-scale demonstration supported by volunteers taking images in these 2 specific cases. I will mention more things in more detail in the session of Wednesday. So thank you.
So the next one up is Ground Truth. And then we have Land Sense and then Grow, just so you are prepared. Then, so who is going to introduce us to Ground Truth? Joan? Not you? No, you? Yes. Well, that will be tricky.
Do you have a pen here, for instance? And
yeah.
sorry about that, but I was not prepared for this.
Okay, so
But I can.
yeah. So while Joan is doing some technical things, I will then remind you about the 3 challenges that we are going to organize our work in. And the first one is to have sort of an overview of how we can reuse the work we've done in a way that where we have greater participation from citizens. So that's, an overall is more like general experience and general needs. And so the second challenge is more on the technical aspects, where we focus on the tool. There's a lot of tools created, and how can that be improved for the next generation of citizens observatories. And then finally, there's a data model. We want to combine all the different kinds of data, and there is a data model that is necessary, for instance. So if you, when you give your presentations now, even now, if you can focus around those 3 challenges, that would be also great. That will be helpful. How are we doing?
We are almost there.
Almost there.
Yeah. Thank you for filling the gap. Okay, so this is the second one of these new citizens observatories that the European Commission has granted. Thank you for that. I'm a little bit out of the situation, just because we kicked off the project last week in Delft, so I'm almost landing here from Delft today. Anyway, I'm just a participant. The UNESCO people are the ones that are leading the initiative. Okay, we are used to see activities of citizens observatories, and we consider that those 2 pictures might be some examples of this. You see people really taking pictures to water columns or making even small analytics or something like that. So we think that the citizen making measurements, and we believe that's much more than that. So what we think is that actually there is a triangle between the citizens, the data aggregators, let's call it scientists here, and the policymakers on the other side. And we are going to exercise this triangle in 6 demo cases that I'm going to present later. This is not what I wanted, but anyway. So there are different actions here, but the most important thing is the one to that
side, is the one that connects citizens to the policymakers. This is exactly the same diagram, but it's an infograph where we see the people that are taking measurements, maybe in urban areas, maybe in rural areas, whatever. They are combining the observations with the remote sensing data. They are integrating this data in the data aggregation operations. You see the GEOS discovery and access broker also connecting with the aggregations, and then we have the policymakers on the other side, and we have this cooperative planning between the citizens and the policymakers. We believed this is the key issue here, the collaborative planning between citizens and policymakers. The fact that we engage citizens in policy will keep them running. There are many other ideas in this diagram that I'm going to skip here. And as I said, this part of the triangle, the red one, is the one that is important. So we have mainly two objectives: the demonstration of societal and economical benefits of citizen observatories and the global uptake of this. To do that, we have these two dimensions. The social dimension that is coming from the left and the technologies that are coming from the right. I'm kind of a right person, but fortunately there are others working in the project with the social dimension. I don't understand them, but I will learn to understand them in the next 3 years. They are probably as important as the technological part. We know now that the technology is allowing all this stuff to happen, but sometimes the technology is not enough. You have to engage your citizens and so on. So we need this social dimension too. This is an innovation action. All 4 of these projects are innovation actions, so it is required, and we want to do that, to develop a business vision here too, to go to the market. Isn't that wonderful? So I already told that. So these are the 6 demo cases that we are facing here. In Belgium. We are going to do air and water quality. In Spain, we are going to do phenology using a 1-year project of engaging citizens in science that we did here in Spain. In the Netherlands, we are going to do hydrological information. In Sweden, nutrient pollution and land and waste. In Kenya, we go for biodiversity data, and in Zambia, wildlife sightings and so on. We have an architecture, of course we have it, in 3 words. We have the data collection, of course we have it. Then we have the data processing that is giving value added to the data, and then we have enhanced services to interact with the stakeholders, and I have fancy animations that are making me slow. I don't want that. We have already platforms that are contributed, let me call it that way, into the project, and we are going to harmonize them and make them more useful, motivate more stakeholders, and integrate them, as I said, in GEOS previously. Well, many things happening here, even visualization tools, whatever. I don't have time to explain all of this. This is the work package schema, and you see in the work package schema, again, this contraposition between the social dimension and the enabling technologies. The 6 demonstrations, you see we don't have any work package with demos, so this means that the demos are transversal. Some people think this is a good idea, some others think this is a bad idea. We will see how it works. Well, in the consortium, there are mainly small and medium enterprises and an industrial partner. And we also have academia. My center, I forgot, I'm working in CREAF. And we also have NGOs to connect also to the social dimension of this. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry for the improvisation here.
Thank you, Joan. Then we have Land Sense. Yeah, Ian?
I need an hour to find my...
You have to maybe get some help.
Yes. To use the mouse even is tricky.
Yeah.
So I put it on the desktop. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's it, Land Sense. Yeah, exactly that one. And if you can just show me then how to move between slides.
It sounds like
Okay.
Ground Truth will benefit from participating in Challenge 1, Joan,
Great.
and also contribute.
Great. Okay, so a very quick then presentation. Thanks very much to the organizers of this session. I think it's a really great opportunity to actually bring the pioneering observatories together with the round 2. So we're very happy about that. We're having our kickoff actually tomorrow, so Tuesday and Wednesday in Vienna. The slides are dancing around me a bit. My name is Ian McCallum. Stefan Fritz is the PI of this. Some of you will know him. So Land Sense is our citizen observatory. This is all about land use and land cover monitoring, so essentially building an observatory and innovation marketplace. We have 17 partners spanning across 9 countries there. Unfortunately, nobody in Spain, I noticed, but we have people on the advisory board and so forth, so we're covered there. I think we have Europe in general quite well represented. So just moving on quickly, I think a quick little background for this. What is the need for Land Sense? I think many of us know, everyone in this room will know that Earth observation plays a critical role for land monitoring. The real difficulty is there is in many sectors, or maybe all sectors, a lack of sufficient in situ data for developing accurate products, and so that's one of the main driving factors behind setting up Land Sense. Just some examples of the costs. So there is a systematic sample across Europe done every 3 years. Lucas, it's called. That's costing about 10 million euros to do. It's a very detailed sample, permanent sample plots. Also, so looking at national examples, for instance, the IGN France spends about 20 million per year on surveying, and the Common Agricultural Policy also in 2012 spent 8 million, so that's an annual cost there on basically gaining good information on the ground. So we are attempting to also address some of those cost issues, but also to just make it much easier to bring all this information together. Like most sectors, the data is scattered all over the place, in situ data, remote sensing, and it requires real expertise to deal with all of these things. So we have a whole series of objectives. I'll maybe just fly over those very quickly. We start out with assessing the current practices, of course, building then this Land Sense engagement platform. That will be quite key, delivering 4 services, which I will show in a second. Demonstrating in particular, which is very important, that Jose Miguel mentioned, the quality, confidence, and added value of citizen science in situ data. That's very important. A lot of people are questioning that still, rightly so, and then promoting that information that we gather. So this is just kind of the schema of Land Sense, essentially this engagement platform that we call it. One of the benefits we have in this is, I think in many of the new observatories, everybody's bringing something already to the table. So there are a lot of apps coming to the table, platforms, portals, a lot of data is there. So we're trying to avoid building everything from scratch, and we want to then pick up on standards which are already emerging. EXA, by the way, is one of the members of our consortium, the European Citizen Science Association, which is also, I think, very good. So we will try very much to follow what the community is doing. So this is just very briefly this engagement platform in the center, applications, gaming, services incubator, communities attached to this, and all of the data. The output then are what we're trying to build actually are these services, 4 services: Land Sense, so a campaign service, a farmland support service, change detector, and a quality assurance control. And we'll have three main demonstration cases at least, or let's say centered around these 3 themes on monitoring urban and rural landscapes, monitoring the agricultural landscape, and habitat and forest monitoring. I'll maybe just jump over that in light of time. So just coming up to our data management plan, which we're going to be doing now over the next 6 months, just focusing on the types of data to be collected. So that's basically everything, of course, typical point location data, citizen science data, but there will also be raster vector images coming in. standards that will be used. We're obviously going to try to adopt and follow the OGC web services common standards, metadata as well, of course. We have a sentence in the proposal on compliance with Inspire will also be considered, so that's something that definitely needs to be discussed, data sharing and exploitation, and curation and preservation of data. So we have, hopefully we're addressing all of these things. Just quickly wrote down some needs here before concluding. Certainly, we want to follow the community agreed upon standards, and this is already happening within the citizen science community, which is really great. So this sensor web enablement and others. COB Web is also, so there are people from COB Web that are partners in Lansense, so hopefully we're bringing a lot of, at least from that observatory into Lansense. Quality assurance, again, something that coming in from COB Web. We want to ensure secure and efficient integration of internal and third-party data, establish license policies, integrate and upgrade existing technologies to support this data. We'd also like to find out from the pioneering observatories what really worked, what worked well, and perhaps also what didn't, and learn from that, and also just general recommendations. Another point also that's worth knowing, maybe getting a bit more into, is on the incentives and how the incentives are working, in particular in the pioneering observatories. And I'll conclude with that. Thanks very much. Thank you.
So, the GROW, yeah. Oh, you do that, okay. So the last of the 4 new ones, GROW. Or no.
Did we get it? It's on that stick, but I think we have. I think it should be on this one actually. It doesn't have. Something was downloaded already.
You found it?
Just like that. Can we show that on the screen?
This one now. Wait.
This is a PDF file.
Yeah, wait.
Great, thank you. So the 4th observatory is called GROW, and what it does is kind of in the name. I'll present this on behalf of Andy from the University of Dundee, who will come only here tomorrow and on Wednesday. So it will be a full presentation of all of these again in 15 minutes each on Wednesday. So this is just a short introduction. So this is about supporting European growers or farmers, small and large scales, but more smaller scales, dealing with recommendations related to fertilization and monitoring of soil moisture, combining local data with small microsensors and environmental satellite-based information and imagery, and trying to provide this community. Their project is starting in November only, so it's a few more months until this starts. But this is the architecture, as we have seen before. The foundation here is the observations from different environments. And what they have aimed at is to use some of the smaller commercial sensors that you can buy in sensor stores. I'm not involved in this project, but I actually bought one of the sensors, parrot sensors that I put in my garden. So since the summer I've been monitoring kind of the plants in the garden. You can see what the plants are, and then it measures temperature, humidity, amount of sunlight, and the effect of the fertilizer based on measurements of the earth. So it's a little thing you put in next to your plant. It costs around €30, I think. And it communicates with an app
that will give you advice about what you need to do or not to do, and that is based on a database for all kind of different plants. So this is there, and there is already tens of thousands of these sensors in Europe in practical use. So that was one of the arguments, that there is a lot of sensors there already, and they are easy to get hold of. And then this information is going to be processed in different ways by backend applications and combined with other data sources in the context of collaboration to give recommendations related to land use, hydro fertilization services, and other aspects that are useful. So there will be a number of test cases here, and we'll not go in detail of that. We'll hear more about that later, in particular on Wednesday, but you also will have the slides, so you'll see what the plan is. There is an interesting way of structuring the effects of objectives with this little dial here that I think is very useful for those that are looking into the impact of things, because we see what are the techniques that are actually supporting the different objectives. So this is a useful structure, I think, that probably can be reused by others also as a way of looking at the effect of the work. Here are the partners. That's basically what we plan to say now as a short introduction to this. And that covers now the 4 new projects that will have started already, except this will start 1st of November. Okay, thank you.
So now we are going to look at the pioneering citizens observatories and 3 volunteer geographical information projects. Before I start, give the floor to this group, I just want to encourage you once again, since this is the spirit of involving more of us all as citizens in science and data collection. Why don't you, when you share impressions from the 3 days now, why don't you use the hashtag Inspire16Hack? Inspire16Hack, and then we can see, the different views that you all have collectively, and use that as part of the report. So we have a list of old projects: SDI for apps, citizens, Cobweb, and we sense it. And then finally, in this session, we will introduce the 3 challenges. Now, I said for SDI for apps, there is also Foodie and Open Transport Net. We start with the 3 VGI projects then. So who is going to introduce us to that? Is that you, Karel, or Thomas, or is Thomas? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a bit of a challenge now. We need to be very short.
Yes,
we have half an hour.
I'll be very short. For my presentation.
Is this one?
Yeah.
Is this a PDF? A PDF?
PDF.
Why is so high? Again, this was the apps, yeah.
Thank you. So I will briefly go through the SDI for Apps project. You could hear the previous projects which will start or have started. This is a finishing project. It ends in March 2017. So we have 2.5 years of development and cooperation with stakeholders. The main idea of the project is to collect various data sets and information from diverse resources to integrate them and harmonize them based on common standards and publish them through cloud services as linked data or other kind of through other means. And then we have several applications at the end which are collecting data from citizens from various applications, and they are fed back to the whole process. So that's the main idea of SDI for Apps, and I will just present the two main results, which are two big data sets, including Open Land Use Map and Smart Points of Interest. Open Land Use Map is a map created from INSPIRE data, from EEA, European Environmental Agency data, and from data from local or regional authorities. That's the Open Land Use Map. We did Open Land Use Map for several countries. This is a list of data sets we commonly use. So it's Core Land Cover, Urban Atlas. In Czech, it's the Czech Cadastre, which is published under the INSPIRE directive. Then it's a land parcel identification system, and so on. We can use spatial plans and other resources. Here is the methodology, how we combine data. So we start from the highest level of detail, and we go then further up. But I will not spend much time on this. Then we have some classifications. So each data set has different classifications. So here is an example of mapping between Urban Atlas and Hilux, the INSPIRE-based data specifications. And here are already some examples of already finalized countries, including Czech Republic, Latvia, Slovakia, a part of Belgium.
From Fridays, all Austria.
And all Austria is here. So access to data is through OGC services as well as download services in shapefile format, so you can all of you can download and access it easily. And here are the links to the three finalized countries, and you can find them on the sdi4apps.eu website. And the other data set is Smart Points of Interest. Points we have collected from all over the globe. Currently, there is about 24 million points of interest. We are harmonizing it into a common data model. It's published through Sparkle endpoint, so you can access it directly through the links I will show at the end of the presentation. And I will put this presentation in the new section on the SDI for Apps website, so you can just spend more time going through these slides, not as quickly as I do now. There is some classification of these points of interest based on the base classification, just an example of harmonization from different data sources, so it's a quite complex data harmonization process. And this is the data model in UML and so on. So I will just skip those, and I will just leave this as the last image, where you can see the URL where you can find all the information, including this presentation about smart points of interest. So sdi4apps.eu/SPOI. So thank you very much.
So I would like ask for technical assistance. Meantime, I will start shortly. I was really very surprised in the introduction of Citizens Observatories project, how big overlapping is between the project which are financed in this group and our group. And I see that really this event is very important to start work together, because a lot of things, and as you see, land use, agriculture, all things are solved also in this project. And I think that if we will be able to merge effort, yes, and if we will be able to put things together, that will be very useful. Because what I learned, I am working on European project from 5th framework program. What is the most important? Not software, data, and then sustainability. Yes, we need to reach this, not finish with the data after end of the project, be able to continue. And I think that this meeting is the chance how to transmit the things and how to stay alive, something what we, it is OTN Barcelona. So, I will be very short about OTN project. All these 3 projects are working very closely together, and OTN is mainly focused on transport, and the goal is to bring existing data to the praxis, to government, but also to companies, and to build a new type of application. This project cover more countries in Europe. There is a lot of end users in this, and I think that this is also one from big challenges. We are using 2 data sets, which already mentioned Thomas, in SDI for Apps, because we are cooperating on this, and also partners from OTN contribute, for example, to SPOI and Flanders. All was done mainly by people from OTN project, but we are also working on other things. Open Transport Map. This is OpenStreetMap network, which is transformed into Inspire format, what I think could be interesting challenges. And we are building in step by step in the countries also some, not online, but from the statistical point of view, the transport intensity map. We have now this cover, I think, 3 countries. Till end of the project, we plan to have this transport intensity for all Europe, and this is what is also as open data. So the main output is OTN Hub. We do a lot about the possibility of the sharing of the data, and we will speak in the challenges, yes, because what we see that VGI could be not only collect the single data, but also be able to put data together and share this data with others, yes. So we see this as some other way of VGI. This is what we would like to do here during the hackathon, and you can see that what we are now supporting in our solution is, for example, to be able to share data through social networks. So you are able to prepare your own thematic maps, and very easy to share this map with the community. You are able to style the maps, go on mobile things, and we have the first success some way coming to the commercial things, because in last weeks our colleague prepared the analysis of the transport in Pilsner and how closing some roads could influence the transport, and this is now what the city is planning to use for the discussion with the people about closing of the different streets. So we see that also it's possible with this data coming initially from VGI to do something what could be used by public sector. I think that it is all from my side.
Good already afternoon. My name is Tomáš Řezník, which you can see is a tongue twister, the Czech one. So please feel free to call me Thomas. As you can see, all cooperators with Karel are named Karel or Thomas, so I'm the Thomas one. And on behalf of all the authors, I would like to say a few words about the Foodie project. I started with the terminology, so as you can see, we don't have time for the questionnaire, but you can see what all foodie could be, and everything of that is correct. If you are interested in the project itself, I would like to recommend you the following website, and I will go directly to the motivations and the user needs, because the colleagues from Denmark already discovered that a farmer has 40 communicating channels. And of course, the geospatial data are the bridge between the economic and environmental point of view. And the crowdsourcing could be a way how to define the data for those channels. And for that reason, we are developing the Foodie platform, which on one side is powered by several data sources. Some of them you have already heard about, and publishes them through the open APIs. And no matter which kind of a user are you, whether you are using directly the tools that we have prepared, or whether you are using your own software, you can access both. And the crowdsourcing exactly is at those coordinates, which is Spain and the Czech Republic. The first one, we have the winery scenario. Typically a man operating at the winery using a cell phone and adding some typical negative information like there's a mildew, there's a disease or something like that. And this is visualized at the main farm. On the other hand, in the Czech Republic, we are using, as far as I know, the biggest VGI device, which is a tractor. We are developing something that we have called the tractor art, which you can see directly, but it could be used also in a completely different way. That, for instance, a small farmer can typically, at the end of the day, filter and see what he has performed, and he has all the notes, and he can spend the time with family or with who he wants, instead of putting the data together. So, and the most important at the end, I'm looking forward to communicating with you. So this is in the source code, of course, as we are in the hackathon. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas, number one. Now we have 3 more projects to be presented, and we have like 10 minutes until lunch break. Exactly. Yeah, so are you prepared to extend a little bit? Have control of your stomachs? So there are three citizens and pioneering citizens observatories. First up is Citizens, then Cobweb, and then Sensit. So Citizens, who is going to do Citizens? Is that you, aren't? No, Alena? Yep. Okay, floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Alena Bartuňová. I have the honor to be the Citizens Coordinator. Thank you. The full title you see here, and we had use cases in 9 places in Europe, and in our consortium we had 30 partners, and totally we collaborated with, like, within the consortium, 15 SMEs, so you can imagine there are some challenges here. In Europe, we had these 9 cities, and we, at some point, had an operational network of 324 air sensors, which is by so far the biggest in the world ever. At this moment, I'm sure it will be surpassed quickly. We had, of course, we do this with people, so we had about 200 people carrying around this device. Nowadays, this device has been improved and looks like this, but in both cases, you also need a mobile phone because the Bluetooth communicates like this. We had public spaces case study where we had about 50 volunteers participating. We had collaborated with 12 secondary schools, and we engaged more than 1,000 of students and children. We have at the moment 12 1,200 app users active who are using the app actually. And we have about 1,000 answers to questionnaire regarding air quality. Altogether, this amounts to roughly 9.4 million observations in the database. This is our simplified platform architecture. I am sure you will hear about it a little bit more afterwards. But I will show you 3 of our many products that we have. So we had a sensor device that is called AQMesh, produced by or distributed by Environmental Instruments company in the UK. And on the left-hand side, here you see Oslo, and if it was better visible, you would see the installations of these 51 plus 13 sensor units that were put on lampposts and other places. And the end product of this is actually a map of Oslo that is using these measurements to put them onto a base map and uses statistical interpolation to give you hourly data in a city. So many cities have different kinds of maps, but even more cities do not have any map at all. So in this way, we can demonstrate that this technology actually can produce pretty good results. And there is a lot of standardization and a lot of quality control behind this that I will be happy to tell you about at some other occasion. The other case study is using this device. Again, here we had volunteers that were having the mobile phone somewhere near and the thing on their arm, and they were going around in a city, and they could see on the mobile phone what is the air pollution where they were. Of course, this is not concentration, because concentration, normally we are used to looking at concentrations measured by instruments that are certified and so forth. These instruments may be certified in some time, but are not so now. So comparing those would be difficult, so it is a question how you are going to communicate the measurements. We have chosen to show classes of air pollution, and again, I can tell you more. And each person then could log into our platform, and they can see where they have been. Every person can see where they have been, and they can see a road through the city. We cannot see that because, of course, there is privacy issues, but we can see some kind of an average. The third type of output or a product that we have a number of questionnaires about air quality, which show together we have over 1,000 replies at the moment, but we also have an app that you can download, and I encourage you to do that, where you can report what is the air pollution where you are according to your own subjective perception. And if it is anything but good, then the app will ask you, why do you think it is not good? And at the moment, we have about 1,200 registered users for this. So all these data were, of course, made available for these visualizations through the platform, through the system you have seen before. And main issue for us was really the user interface. Who are our users? What would they like to know? How should our products look like in order for the users to actually use them? So we know that our users generally are people more interested in air quality than average. We know that they enjoy higher education and social status than the general population. And we have also been asking them how would they like to use these data, or what is their view on how can they participate in decision-making regarding environmental issues, and only 1% answered that they do not wish to participate. So you can see here some examples of how they think they could participate. All this you can find on our webpage here. With a number of things, the app you can download, and if you would like to know more and know nothing else, you can always contact me. Thank you.
next up is Cobweb, but I forgot to mention.
I forgot to say, if you would like to ask about the device, here is your man.
There. So there will be a fourth pioneering citizens observatory, namely CitClubs, also presenting today. Yes.
So Cobweb.
Yes, Cobweb now.
Okay, so good afternoon. I'm Joanna from GeoCat, and I'm going to be saying a few words about the Cobweb project, which is coming to an end in 1 month. So it was a 4-year project, and the main goal of this project was to facilitate citizen participation in environmental monitoring and governance. And there was also a specific goal of enabling citizens to use their mobile devices to collect environmental data. So the main idea behind the Cobweb is what you can see in this slide. So in one hand, we have the citizens and the sensors, so the bottom-up data. And then in the other hand, we have the authoritative data sets, such as inspired data sets, GEOS, and so on. And all these data sets are combined and exposed to the different stakeholders. So this project was focused on the biosphere network of, in the UNESCO World Network of Biosphere Reserves. There were 3 main subject areas that were tackled by the demonstrators, which you can see here. And one interesting aspect of this project was actually that design was interactive. So the software was designed together with the citizens. And so they were involved in the process of designing the software, so in order to ensure that the final result was really relevant for them. So I'm not going to explain in detail the software that was developed, but obviously we assemble a framework of different software, and it's important to say that most of this software is actually free and open source licenses. I can talk a little bit more about that if you want, if you ask me during the afternoon. It's also important to emphasize the aspect of privacy. So spatial data by its nature is very sensitive, because by using the location you can infer a lot of things about people. So it's important to tackle the privacy earlier on by design, and don't collect information that you actually don't need. Having a free and open source software is actually very important in order to ensure that we have privacy. So I'm going to jump now to the conclusions. So these are 3 important aspects of the vision of Cobweb. So I already mentioned the free and open source software, the use of open standards, so OGC standards to expose the data, to ensure there is interoperability, ISO, Inspire, and open data. So 3 important things. And since we are in the Inspire conference, I think it's relevant to say that the data was exposed using Inspire practices. And it's also very interesting that there was a both-way interaction between Inspire and the data collected by citizens. So in one hand, we use Inspire as an authoritative source for validating the citizens' observations. And on the other hand, also the citizen science data was used to validate the inspired data sets. So this is an interesting aspect. You have a few links over here where you can see and download some of the software that was developed and also some of the practices that were assembled related to citizen science. And I think that's all. Thank you. So just to mention, there will be a presentation on Wednesday about this, on Wednesday morning about CoWeb.
Yes, all the citizens observatories will be presented in more depth on Wednesday. So this is just an introduction to the hackathon to start to work. And now I have a practical, because of practical issues, we are switching the number of presentations. I think SIT Clubs, since you are here, we take SIT Club's presentation first, and we sense it will be presented to you remotely, so then we don't have to switch back and forth. So there will be a remote presentation, the next one after SIT Clubs. Okay.
Thanks. Thanks, Mary. Enseñar.
El problema es que ahora lo verás aquí, no lo verás aquí, ¿vale?
Okay, good morning. This is Luigi Ceccaroni from the project Cyclops. Actually, there is also Jaume Piera from the SIC, who was the co-coordinator of the project. So Cyclops is one of the first round of citizens observatories. Here you have the web page in which you can find basically all the results and the scientific outputs of the project. The fact that Cyclops finished some time ago gave us time to reflect about what happens after the end of a big project. So I think this could be useful also for the next round of citizens observatories. So we maintained the main web page of the project indefinitely for the moment, but we decided that to be more appealing and more engaging for the citizens, we at the end of the project we decided to rebrand the project and to actually have the more dynamic and live and interactive website named differently. So while this is the background of everything about Cyclops, then we decided to rebrand everything as Ion Water. So we actually changed the app, we changed the presentation of the website, so now everything is actually directed or redirected to Ion Water. This is the brand that we want to maintain. We had an agreement with the two partners and the company to maintain this. So this is a site that is maintained after with new funding after the end of the European Commission's funding. As you see, there is a link to the new apps that can be used for collecting data. This project is about, as you might have seen, the monitoring of the quality of natural watercolors and transparency and fluorescence. And the idea also is to be able to package everything that we have done in a way that can be reused continuously for new initiatives. So, for example, if we this is an initiative that is ongoing, the Ion Water monitoring site, but then okay, it doesn't matter. I'll tell you if we have a chat afterwards. I wanted to show you that the The main idea of Cyclops and Ion Water is being used in new initiatives covering the monitoring of the ocean or of the sea. For example, there is a new global sailing race that is starting in November, and they agreed to collect data for Ion Water and Cyclops. So we reached an agreement, and so the skippers that are sailing around the world in this sailing regatta will collect every day data about color and transparency of the sea. So this is an example of a way to maintain a project alive after the end of the funding. And I think that this is one of the particular points that is more critical for every European project. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Luigi. And then we have this remote presenter, We Sense It, pseudo WIP. And I think Arne will...
Yeah, we'll just change now to the remote connection here. So that will be... this is... Now we have... Chrome session with a GoToMeeting. Let's see, it's on the... Okay, we have, let's see, where do we have our GoToMeeting there? First. There, okay, so we have the presentation there. And then we have the remote connection of the audio. If you can have that, we will get the presentation remotely.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
We can hear you. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, so, well, I'll go on with the presentation. So, firstly, please accept my apologies for not being there. I had a last-minute problem with my passport and eventually had to miss out on a really interesting conference. But also thanks to everyone for making this possible for us to participate remotely. So I'll be talking about the We Sense It project, and it's a 4-year project, and we are at the last stage of the project. So in the We Sense It project, the main idea is to create an environment and methodology for establishing a bidirectional communication between decision makers and citizens, so that we have a virtual and physical place where citizens and decision makers can cooperate to gather and share data, to collect data, to interpret the data in the ways that's appropriate for them and for the communities, and also to identify and analyze and try to propose solutions to reach decisions which are mutually beneficial for all parties. And the idea is to let everyone communicate and let everyone work together to build a better picture of what's happening on the ground, as well as to understand how we can help improve services and situations. And effectively, in order to establish this and also to respect all the different roles and information needs of different communities. So the We Sense It project was a 48-month project, and we had 14 partners, and it's coordinated by the University of Sheffield. And we are in the final few weeks, and we are preparing all our final reports now. So in terms of technologies developed, we had lots of different aspects that contributed towards the whole citizen observatories view. And core to our approach are citizens, decision makers, authorities, as you can see right in the middle. They're basically users of technologies, and as a result provide data as well. A lot of information comes in from in situ sensing by making use of low-cost and affordable technology such as Raspberry Pi, Arduino, and also we connect to APIs which make open data available. So the environmental agencies' data on water level, and also we look at tide times and everything to provide a better idea of situations on the ground. At the same time, the vSensit project has developed several technologies for surveillance. So, for example, we've developed Wi-Fi sniffing and Bluetooth sniffing sensors, which are low cost but can be deployed in large regions in cities to understand the movement patterns of citizens. So if there are emergencies, then we can understand better where people are moving and how they're moving. We've also made use of drones to look at cities in a larger area context. At the same time, we look at a lot of social media data, and that provides us an insight on what citizens and communities are talking about in their regions, or talking about regions affected by different water issues such as flooding or drought. And we've also developed mobile applications to track the activities of citizens so that we know if there are regions where people are and they're running, or if people are stagnant in several regions in the city, then we can understand this, and citizens and authorities can work together to help alleviate situations arising of emergencies. We've also developed a lot of prediction models to understand how different regions within cities will be flooded in case there is a flooding, and how that will impact the locations and local areas within cities. And at the same time, we've developed a lot of applications for communities and citizens to communicate with authorities and decision makers. So we've developed a vSensit app, and that provides up-to-date reports of situations on the ground, as well as provides mechanisms for citizens to contact authorities and provide information about where they are, what they're interested in, and what happens within their localities. So all of these, so our evaluations and all of the development of the technology has been co-designed with citizens and communities. So as a result, we've had a better idea of these scenarios. So from there, we've tried to highlight certain issues and certain challenges that we've addressed that I thought would be helpful in sharing in this forum. So right up front, it's useful to have a look at citizens, because if you're talking about citizen observatories, it's important to understand what is possible and what's the contribution of citizens in this. So citizens can often be the worst possible sensors. They're often unavailable. They can be imprecise and temperamental, and they can be politically, ideologically, and personally motivated. And in several times they can believe in rumors and often and as a result might not provide the right data for analysts and decision makers. And at the same time, they process information and not data. So they provide information as an unstructured, unformalized, and information source. But at the same time, these qualities make them often the best possible sensors, because firstly, they're available in large areas and at large times of the day. So there are different regions in the cities that can provide a really interesting way of looking at what citizens and communities face. They are highly reliable, especially as a group. So as a group, if the inputs of citizens are considered together, then they can provide a much better idea of what's happening on the ground. And at the same time, they can process the information, such as if it's cold today, they would mention that it's cold, but they wouldn't mention what the exact temperature is. But as a result, they can provide information from a variety of contexts, and that's really important for citizen observatories as well. So in terms of lessons learned, firstly, we've developed lots of tools. We've provided lots of data and shared it via GEOS. But there are certain interesting things that I wanted to mention here. So firstly, lead times for installing sensors and deploying them. for the VSensit project, we found that it can take a lot longer than what we had initially imagined. And that's because there are lots of processes that's involved in installing sensors in public locations. So for example, bridge sensors need a lot of time to understand who is the owner of the bridge, how can these places be accessed, and also how can the power be established, and how can we make sure that the data that we are collecting is right. So the whole process of calibration also takes a lot of time. At the same time, communication between sensors and data stores has several practical issues, such as how will the data be connected, how can we establish power in a reasonably useful and such that we can maintain a constant communication, and also to understand why communication has failed. A lot of these sensors have been deployed in remote regions, so it's difficult to access them, and it's difficult for local citizens to access them. For example, in this picture, this is a sensor that's deployed by the river Don. And as you can see, that on the picture left, there is a lot of foliage, and which makes it really difficult to pass through and actually make any modifications on the sensor, or even make sure that the solar panel is not blocked. And the picture on the right is sometime during the rainy period. So we can see that there is a lot of water raised, and it's difficult for people to access these places. But the issue really is that if we are relying on solar power, for example, in this case, it's difficult to ensure that there will be constant supply of power, because on the picture left, you can see that there is a lot of foliage developed, and a lot of these sensors are deployed in remote regions, so it's difficult to access them. We've also found that as a result, there is a lot of missing or incomplete data, and we've had to make sure that we can understand why this is the case. So a lot of times the professionals had to go to these sensor locations and make sure and do troubleshooting, which is very difficult for citizens to actually do that. At the same time, we've involved different communities in the VSensit project. For example, in the Doncaster region, we've involved flood wardens who are really engaged and who are actively participating in the project. But at the same time, the demographics of this community is that they're elderly population who are mostly retired. So for them to actually make use of mobile applications and actually come up with DIY sensors is really difficult. So we need to address the needs of communities and participants in that way to ensure that we have different kinds of participation. So the community in Doncaster provided a lot of interesting local knowledge, which was really interesting for the use case. But at the same time, they couldn't actually make use of the apps developed for them. But then they also provided us with contacts within their community who can actually provide that kind of data. At the same time, we've observed that there were a lot of cultural differences within use cases. So one use case, which was in Doncaster, had the engagement from flood wardens, and they could provide a lot of local knowledge. But at the same time, our partners in Italy, they have a very top-down approach. So within matters of an hour or so, there can be hundreds and thousands of volunteers ready to actually take active participation in the process of data collection, or even in the process of alleviating the issues. And these were really the kind of things that I wanted to highlight in this short talk, so that maybe that can be useful for the next projects. We've also made available a set of data for this hackathon and also in general. So the first two links are data sets that we use from external bodies. And we make use of these data sets in our VSensit platform. And the third link that you can see at the bottom provides the data sets that have been created in the VSensit project. And that's done through GEOS. So if you follow the link, you would find the data sets shared through GEOS, and then you can make queries to our database and then download the data that we are providing. And that's pretty much a very short talk about the vSensit project. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And I hope this conference is an interesting one.
I don't think he hears us. So if we have questions for him, you might tell us, and Arne will write it to.
Yeah, he will actually hear us.
Okay. I think we will then close this part of the session. We have 3 challenges that we will start the next session with after lunch. Just reminding you of them and the concrete outputs, results we want to achieve. And the first challenge is more general, discussing the needs of the users and the experiences that we have had in the existing projects, as well as what has been identified in the new ones, and particularly focusing on how we can help the new ones, the new citizens observatories. Then a second challenge is, well, more concretely, we are looking to see how we can be more efficiently creating applications, mobile applications, and improve a toolbox for that. There has been made toolboxes, and there will be need, the next generation will also need to create apps. So how can we improve the toolbox? That could be achievable during the 2 days. And then finally, a data model on how we can integrate all the different data, types of data, including, of course, Inspire data. And so those are just keywords for you to put in your brains while you also get some food in your body. And we will meet here again at 2 o'clock. And we will start to go more deeply into the different challenges, but the focus will be on kickstarting the working groups, the teams that will do concrete works. Before you leave, everybody who has been speakers, please sign this document that gives us permission to use the recording. It's very official in this sense. You all agreed by participating. By the way, you agree that we will be able to use photos and films, but this is the Inspire directive. They require you who presented to sign this document. So please do that. Don't forget to give us that. And yes, that's basically it, I think. Thank you so much for your participation. I'm looking forward to active work the next couple of days. Bon appétit.